Earning over $300,000 a year is often seen as the finish line for financial security. Yet 40% of Americans at this income level live paycheck to paycheck. For attending physicians, that number climbs even higher, reaching 57%. These are the Henrys, high earners, not rich yet. They typically earn between $100,000 and $500,000, are in their early 40s, and manage massive monthly cash flows that carry almost zero resilience against a sudden economic shock. This chart of geographic density clusters shows that the phenomenon isn't an isolated anomaly. It is a systemic reality across nearly every major metropolitan and suburban hub in the country. These households often carry six-figure credit balances, while lacking the liquid assets necessary to bridge even a short-term gap in their employment. It is a reminder that a high salary is merely a cash flow tool. True wealth is determined by the portion of that income you actually keep. High earners often face structural incompressibility, a baseline of mandatory professional expenses that cannot be solved by cutting back on small luxuries. This chart illustrates real estate as a primary liquidity sink. Average wages grew 54%, but home prices spiked 74%, trapping cash flow and property equity. Layering rising childcare and educational debt creates a rigid floor of monthly expenses, sitting just below top-line income. This rigidity leaves top earners entirely dependent on their next pay cycle to maintain their participation in the economy, leaving them highly vulnerable to shifts in the job market. These market constraints have turned the high earner's budget into a rigid treadmill, where the margin for financial error effectively disappears. Beyond living expenses, a progressive tax code acts as a silent wealth killer for those who lack a defensive strategy. Inflation triggers tax bracket creep. As nominal wages rise, that salary bar crosses a dotted threshold, hitting a higher marginal tax tier. While some brackets adjust, surtax thresholds remain completely frozen. Salaries grow past these static lines, triggering unintended penalties for high earners. The math is unforgiving. High earners lose between 20 and 33% of their gross income to taxes before paying a single household bill. Without a proactive tax strategy, increasing your gross income often means working harder to fund the government rather than building your net worth. Then there is the psychological pressure. For many, the instinct to expand their lifestyle matches the speed of their salary increases. This is lifestyle creep, the process where a rare luxury gradually becomes an expected, mandatory standard of living. In many professional circles, visible spending is used as status signaling. Projecting success becomes an unwritten requirement for acquiring clients or partnership. Targeted advertising and social media distortion further erode the definition of enough, keeping high earners on an endless, competitive treadmill. When professional identity is tied to consumption, it creates a household with high cash flow but zero net wealth. Converting a high salary into lasting wealth requires a calculated defense against the specific forces of debt and taxation. The avalanche method in action. By eliminating the highest interest debt first, high earners free up cash flow previously trapped in interest. Once free, this cash must be shielded. Maximizing retirement accounts, Roth conversions, and tax loss harvesting legally protects investments from the progressive tax code. This strategy only succeeds if the behavioral side is addressed. Savings and investments must be automated so that capital is captured before discretionary spending occurs. Because baseline costs are largely non-negotiable in many professions, the primary point of leverage is the behavioral gap between income and lifestyle expansion. Decoupling professional success from visible consumption allows for the accumulation of wealth in the margin that remains after fixed costs and taxes. Lasting wealth is not a function of the luxury a paycheck provides. It is the resilience and time you gain when you own your income.